We are hopping into the world of Starbucks today, a company that has gone through a bit of a roller coaster. If you look at their stock price, I know recently they've got a new CEO in. He did that typical CEO stuff of laying a bunch of people off, making some big changes, and those changes actually might have been paying off. If we look at their stock price, you can see obviously in 2024, had a dip down here, stayed at the lows here, spiked up, kind of traveled up again, and then another dip here. This is where the new CEO came in. They simplified the menu. They made it easier to order stuff at Starbucks. Before, there was like thousands of drink options. Now, simplifying that, and since then, have seen a rally and actually doing pretty well. If you look at just this year, you can see up 15% for year to date this year. Compare that to the S&P. It's destroying the S&P. S&P down 1.6% compared to Starbucks, actually up. So maybe they figured it out. Maybe they got everything going on the right track. This new CEO figured out the formula to success. But we can look back at some of this stuff, like this video here is going to talk about what went wrong or what was going wrong with Starbucks, and maybe we can see that they actually changed what might have actually been causing harm to the business. But let's see what was going
Starbucks
wrong
this morning, down about
Starbucks.
1.5%. Starbucks facing a walkout of more than 1,000 employees.
There was a lot of excuses. It seemed like there was a lot of panic.
I'll tell you what, though, you've not been to Starbucks. No, you haven't. The worst sales.
We're seeing traffic levels that outside of the pandemic, we haven't seen except in recessions. We started to see almost the equivalent of spaghetti being thrown against a wall to see what would stick.
Drink orders have become more complicated. The wait times are kind of obnoxious at times.
It seems like, one moment there was one CEO and things were going pretty well. And then suddenly the picture started to change. There have definitely been a couple of moments of what just happened here.
Now a new CEO hopes to turn the company around by bringing...
So, we can just say, just starting right here, obviously, that is a bunch of stuff that was wrong with Starbucks. They went through a whole list of stuff, but some of that stuff was actually solved for, which maybe they'll dive deeper into why that was a problem, and obviously this guy changed it. One of the biggest things is the menu. The menu was so massively complicated that they simplified it, and I think they got backlash when they simplified it, but turned out to be the right move.
The Starbucks story as we know it started in the early 80s with Howard Schultz, who was working for a small Seattle company that was selling whole bean and ground coffee. During that time, coffee for Americans was basically just fuel. Howard Schultz wanted to turn it into an elevated European-style experience. From the early days, Schultz was really trying to make Starbucks what basically he called the third place, which is somewhere outside of your work or your home where you can just hang out.
The idea took off. Today, Starbucks is the second largest restaurant chain in the world, behind only McDonald's, with over...
This chart here. And actually, McDonald's is not the biggest fast food place in the world either anymore. Some Chinese thing came along and actually took that title from them, I think in locations. So McDonald's doesn't have that title anymore either. But if Starbucks wanted to solve a bigger problem, even like back then, whatever they're talking about, a third place, a hangout place, if you could solve for that problem, I think you could make a massive, massive change in your business, because the world is lacking that right now. We do not have any third place things in the world to just hang out, to meet people, to just do things. So obviously I don't think Starbucks is going to figure that out. They don't. I just think like the days of like this coffee shop type of vibe is just over. I don't think that's going to happen. But any business that can come along and figure that out can have a massive, massive wins, I think, because we're just lacking that right now.
Customers today purchase more iced coffees and complex concoctions like frappuccinos and lemonade refreshers than they do hot coffees.
Can I get a grande dragon fruit refresher blended with strawberry puree? And then could you add also... Okay, 1 second. Sorry, it's...
See, this is what they were trying to get rid of, the massively complicated orders, because it slowed things down, cost more in inventory to have all that on hand. It just made everything a mess. And I'm pretty sure people were not happy when they simplified the menu, but like, it had to be done. Like, it was just too complex for new people who's never been to I've never been to Starbucks ever. If I went there and the menu was so complex, I wouldn't even know what to do. I'd turn around and walk out. Like, I wouldn't even try to go through all this stuff. So they had to do that. Maybe one thing that turned everything around for them, but you could just, even like this, during this time, it's like, oh, I know it's complicated. And even the workers, like, hold on, like, give me a second. I don't even know what you're saying right now.
Kind of a complicated one.
Starbucks is a brand that was born serving hot beverages. The preponderance of what they serve in the US now is cold. So it's a little bit like building, I don't know, a Cadillac in a Buick factory.
The Starbucks business changed a lot during the pandemic, and one of the things that surged was mobile ordering. So on the app, people find it a lot easier to make their drinks more complicated. For baristas, the combination of more to-go orders, more cold drinks, and more customization proved to be really stressful. A lot of them felt that they weren't really set up for success, and they were burning out pretty quickly.
That is something, too, that they changed as well. The mobile ordering was a massive thing. People are doing that, but they've now flipped the script. They don't want people ordering on mobily and either coming and pick it up or getting it picked up to get it delivered. Because like they said before, they want this third party or third place type of vibe where people will go and hang out. And if people are ordering stuff on their phone, they're not going to do that. So they've actually flipped the script. Instead of, they've cut the mobile rewards and things that you get on the app, and have actually increased the experience in the Starbucks. I think they give you like a better cup, like a ceramic cup or a better cup, or they make the experience better. They write notes on the cups now, like have a good day or a smiley face or something to try to, I don't know, brighten people's days or get them emotionally attached to coming into this place. And it kind of is working because people are enjoying those little notes, which is crazy. Like, we're at a point where your fast food, I guess it's a fast food place, but a barista can write "have a nice day," and that's like the highlight of someone's day. But they flipped the script. They don't want you ordering mobily. They want you coming in. They want you buying stuff there, simplifying it, and hanging out in the store.
Over the past 18 months, Starbucks has waged the most aggressive and illegal union-busting campaign in the modern history of our country.
Sir, Starbucks Coffee Company unequivocally, and let me set the tone for this very early on, has not broken the law.
Okay.
By then, Schultz had turned over control of the company to Lakshman Narasimhan, a former Pepsi executive.
The two parties were sort of locked into an impasse for a while over the contract, so there is no contract just yet. But earlier this year, they actually reopened those lines of communication.
I think that we are pushing forward for a really, really good chance that we will have a contract that we are both satisfied with. I am also super excited and happy that I'm able to join the union with 10,500 plus workers. So it's really empowering for us.
That's so crazy. That's good now.
Starbucks' woes haven't disappeared. The company's bottom line took a hit when dueling boycotts erupted over the war in Gaza after the union shared social media posts expressing solidarity with Palestinians. The company says it's never taken an official position on the war. Meanwhile, China, one of Starbucks' biggest regions for growth, has become another trouble spot.
The pandemic hit the Chinese market particularly hard, and recently Starbucks lost the mantle of the country's largest coffee retailer to Luckin Coffee, which automates a lot of the work, which allows it to save money and basically charge customers less.
So this is interesting too, I guess. Like, obviously they have problems with the union things, and I think that kind of blew over. I haven't heard anything about that, so like time probably just, people are just not interested anymore. Maybe it's still going on, or maybe they reached a deal. I don't know, but this is what China does best. These guys, they let you come in. They come bring your business to China. They let you operate. They learn how it works, and then they steal it from you and do it themselves. I think Luckin Coffee, this is a Chinese Starbucks. I'm pretty sure it is. But they basically did it better, right? And then they take the supplier from Starbucks and then bring the people over to them. They can make it cheaper. It's just the Chinese playbook. So, but for problems for Starbucks now, I guess they didn't even have to really solve for this. They kind of got away with it. Maybe people aren't paying attention to
China
looking
has
coffee.
been quite volatile during the pandemic and post-pandemic. And what we've seen this year has been very similar to what some other brands have seen, which is that more casual consumer, the non-rewards consumer, has been tougher to get back in as frequently.
In August, the company announced it was going with yet another new CEO, its third in 3 years.
Brian Niccol has had a lot of experience in the restaurant industry: Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, Yum Brands, and then Chipotle. Starbucks is a different animal here.
Niccol is an experienced restaurant executive. He led Chipotle starting in 2018 when the company was reeling from a lot of issues. One of the big ones was a contamination issue that had actually sickened a bunch of people, but he managed to turn the brand around. The Starbucks board hired Brian Niccol at this inflection point for the company where they're really trying to figure out if they're going to be this to-go machine or if they're going to go back to being the neighborhood coffee house.
I think, as you know, last month I made a commitment that we would get back to Starbucks. That means focusing on what has always set Starbucks apart: a welcoming coffee house where people gather and where we serve the finest coffee, handcrafted by our skilled baristas.
But the company's latest sales results show just how far it still has to go.
If you look at what Brian did with Chipotle, very, very good storytelling about real food that generally resonated very well, obviously, with consumers, given Chipotle's sales trends subsequently. So that's the hope, is that Brian can turn this around, although obviously it will probably take some time.
All right, and we get to look at the update to that because this video was 3 months ago and we kind of already went over it. But he did turn it around. The stock is doing better recently. Obviously, we already looked at this, but might as well do it again. Since he took over, it was what? It was around this time. Might have been August 2024. Might have been around here. So it's kind of trended up a little bit. Big dip and then a big recovery. So whatever he's doing, he seems to be doing the right thing, but I think, the struggles that they listed, they've kind of solved for a little bit. They've made changes to make people come back into the store. They want to make it an inviting thing. I don't know if Starbucks can go back to being the place that people go and hang out. I don't, it really wasn't that to begin. Maybe a little people go there and do work maybe for some time, but I think they're on the right track. They got the right idea, and they've actually solved for a lot of the problems that these guys have said. And so far, this new CEO that they said he might take some time, he's probably doing a better job, a lot quicker than most people expected. That's going to do it for this video. As always, subscribe and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video.